I used to think that if you trusted someone long enough, deeply enough, they couldn't possibly betray you. That loyalty created loyalty. That love protected itself. I was wrong. I'm 40 years old now, married for 13 years, together with my wife for almost 16. We met when we were barely adults. She was my first real relationship, my first serious love, my first everything. We grew up together, went through layoffs, relocations, miscarriages, debt, and family drama side by side. For years, I believed that surviving all that meant we were unbreakable, that nothing could touch us. We weren't flashy, no Instagram perfect life, but we were steady, dependable, predictable, and I loved that, or at least I thought I did. About 2 years ago, she started changing in subtle ways. Not dramatic, not obvious, just distant. She stopped sharing her thoughts with me, stopped venting about work, stopped asking for my opinion. She began living inside her phone, laughing at things I wasn't part of, smiling at messages she'd quickly hide. When I asked, she'd say it was group chats, coworkers, friends, nothing important. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? 13 years, a mortgage, a history, a life. You don't question that. Or so I believed. She also started working late. A lot. Suddenly her job required emergency meetings and last-minute deadlines. Sometimes she wouldn't come home until after midnight. She'd walk in exhausted, barely speak, go straight to shower, then bed. I stopped waiting up for her, stopped asking questions. I didn't want to be the suspicious husband. I didn't want to poison what we had. The first real warning sign came when she forgot our anniversary. 13 years together, and she forgot. No card, no message, no apology until I reminded her that evening. She laughed awkwardly and said work had fried her brain. Then she ordered takeout and acted like that fixed everything. I pretended it was fine, but it wasn't. It felt like something important had slipped through her fingers, and she hadn't even noticed. After that, the emotional distance grew. We stopped having deep conversations, stopped planning things together, stopped dreaming. We were roommates with shared past. A few months later, I noticed she had changed her phone password. We had always known each other's codes. Always. For over a decade. When I asked about it, she said her company required better security. That sounded reasonable. So I accepted it. Then she turned off location sharing. Said it was draining her battery. Again, reasonable. One excuse at a time, she rebuilt her privacy wall. Brick by brick. I helped her build it by not questioning anything. The discovery happened on a night I'll never forget. I had fallen asleep on the couch watching TV. Around 1 a.m., I woke up and realized she wasn't home. No text. No call. Nothing. I checked my phone. No missed messages. My heart started racing. I called her. Straight to voicemail. Texted her. No reply. I stayed awake until almost 4 a.m. When she finally walked in, she looked startled to see me. Said she had fallen asleep at a co-worker's place after working late. I knew instantly that was a lie. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was fresh. She smelled like a hotel, not like exhaustion. I didn't confront her right away. I watched, observed, paid attention. Over the next few weeks, I noticed patterns. Certain nights, she was always busy. Certain weekends, she was unavailable. Certain names that appeared in notifications and disappeared quickly. One night, she left her tablet unlocked on the kitchen counter. It was synced to her phone. Messages started popping up from a man saved as project lead. The messages weren't about work. They were about missing each other, about nights together, about how hard it was to hide. My hands went numb. I scrolled. Photos, hotel rooms, selfies, inside jokes, plans, months of lies, a whole parallel relationship. When I finally confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. She sat down across from me, looked tired, and said, "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." That was the first thing she said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I hurt you." Just regret about being caught. Then came the explanations. She said she felt lonely, that I was emotionally unavailable, that I had changed, that she needed someone who saw her. I reminded her I was right there, had always been. She looked away and said, "It's complicated." That's when I realized my marriage was already over. I just hadn't been informed. After that conversation, our house stopped feeling like home. It became a place where two people pretended to coexist while quietly resenting each other. She avoided me whenever she could, stayed longer at work, went to the gym more, took mental health walks. Anything to minimize time together. When we did talk, it felt scripted. She'd apologize in vague ways. "I'm sorry things got messy. I'm sorry you're hurt." Never, "I'm sorry I cheated." Never, "I'm sorry I lied." It was like she was allergic to taking real responsibility. Meanwhile, I was unraveling. I couldn't focus at work. I'd reread the same email 10 times and still not understand it. My appetite disappeared. Some days, coffee was all I consumed. At night, I'd sit in the dark living room, staring at the wall, replaying every moment of our life together and wondering which ones were real. She insisted the affair was over, said she blocked him, deleted everything, promised transparency, gave me her phone one evening, and told me I could look through it any time. I didn't even touch it. I was afraid of what I'd find, afraid of confirming what I already suspected, that the truth was even worse. We tried counseling. Again, sitting in front of a therapist, pretending we were a couple trying to heal. She cried on cue, talked about stress, burnout, confusion. I talked about betrayal, trust, and feeling disposable. The therapist asked if we were committed to rebuilding. She said yes immediately. I hesitated. That hesitation spoke louder than anything I said. 2 months later, I learned she had lied again. I found out accidentally. A charge on our credit card. A hotel in a city she claimed she hadn't visited in over a year. When I asked her about it, she said it was a mistake, that the company booked it, that she never went. I called the hotel myself. They confirmed her stay. 2 nights. Same weekend, she said she was visiting her sister. When I confronted her, she exploded, said I was spying, that I was controlling, that I was obsessed. Then she admitted it. Yes, she saw him again. Just to talk. Foreclosure. One last time. I felt something inside me die quietly. From that point on, I stopped trying to fix us. Not consciously. It just happened. I stopped initiating conversations. Stopped suggesting dates. Stopped asking how her day was. I started going to the gym alone, taking long walks, reading late at night instead of watching TV with her, building a life that didn't include her. She noticed. She accused me of giving up, of emotionally abandoning her. I almost laughed. She had been gone for years. I was just finally catching up. Around that time, I reconnected with my sister. We hadn't been close in years. One night, I told her everything. Every lie, every excuse, every betrayal. She listened quietly and then said, "You know this isn't normal, right?" I asked her what she meant. She said, "You're living in constant pain and calling it love." That sentence changed something in me. It was so simple, so obvious, and yet I had never allowed myself to think it. A few weeks later, I made a decision without even realizing it. I started saving money in a separate account, just in case. I gathered documents, organized files, looked at apartments online, told myself it was just preparation, not commitment. But deep down, I knew I was getting ready to leave. I was getting ready to survive without her. The night I finally accepted that my marriage was beyond saving came without fireworks. No shouting, no dramatic confrontation. Just a quiet realization that I was completely alone even when she was sitting right next to me. We were eating dinner in silence, both scrolling on our phones. At one point, I looked up and realized I couldn't remember the last time we had laughed together. Really laughed. Not polite smiles. Not forced jokes. Real joy. That scared me more than any message I had ever read. It meant the emotional bond was already dead. We were just maintaining the appearance of a marriage. Around that time, I started paying closer attention to her behavior again, not out of jealousy, out of clarity. I noticed how she still hit her phone, how she still left the room to take calls, how she still got defensive when I asked simple questions. One night, she fell asleep with her phone unlocked beside her. I didn't want to look. I told myself I wouldn't, but I did. And there it was, a new name, different man, different city, same pattern, compliments, plans, late-night messages. She hadn't just cheated and struggled to stop. Cheating had become part of who she was, a coping mechanism, a habit, an addiction. I felt oddly calm, like I had finally received proof of something I already knew. Instead of confronting her immediately, I waited. I watched. For weeks, I saw how she lied effortlessly, how she switched personalities depending on who she was talking to, how she could tell me she loved me while texting another man in the bathroom. That ability terrified me. It meant she didn't just make bad choices. She lived in deception. One night, she told me she was visiting a coworker who was going through a rough time. I followed her. I hated myself for it, but I needed closure. She drove to a small apartment complex, went inside, didn't come out for 3 hours. I sat in my car, staring at the building, feeling my chest collapse. When she came home, I was waiting. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her. I just said, I know. She froze, asked what I meant. I told her everything. The phone, the messages, the apartment. She tried to deny it for 30 seconds, then gave up. Said she didn't know why she did it, that she felt empty, that she hated herself, that she was broken. I listened quietly. Then I asked her the most important question of my life. Do you want this marriage? She hesitated. Again, that hesitation was everything. That night, I slept in the guest room. The next morning, I booked a consultation with a lawyer, not to punish her, not out of revenge, out of self-preservation. I finally understood that staying meant slowly destroying myself. Leaving meant pain, but pain with an end. Meeting with the lawyer felt unreal. Sitting in a quiet office, listening to someone explain my life in terms of assets, timelines, and legal options made everything painfully real. 13 years of memories reduced to paperwork and procedures. I nodded, took notes, asked questions I never thought I'd need to ask. The lawyer was calm, professional, and surprisingly kind. He told me I wasn't weak for staying as long as I did. That many people hold on because hope is addictive. That sentence stuck with me. Hope is addictive. I had been living on emotional fumes for years, hoping she would become the person I married again. When I told her I had spoken to a lawyer, she lost control. She accused me of planning this behind her back, of betraying her trust, of giving up without trying hard enough. I reminded her of the counseling, the promises, the second chances, the third chances. She said those didn't count because she was confused. She said I should have been more patient, more supportive, more forgiving. Somehow, her cheating had become my failure. That night, she packed a bag and went to stay with her friend. I later found out it was another man. By then, I wasn't even surprised. Living alone for the first time in almost 2 decades was terrifying. My apartment felt empty and unfamiliar. No shared routines. No background noise. No one asking what I wanted for dinner. At first, the silence felt heavy. I filled it with TV, podcasts, music, anything. Slowly, I began to appreciate it. The silence meant peace. No arguments. No anxiety. No waiting for lies. I started cooking again, exercising regularly, sleeping better. My body was recovering before my heart did. She kept trying to come back. Texts, calls, emails, long emotional messages, promises of therapy, promises of honesty, promises of change. She said losing me made her realize what she had done, that she finally understood the consequences. Part of me wanted to believe her. 13 years is hard to let go of. But another part of me remembered every lie, every excuse, every hotel charge, every hidden message. I learned something important during that time. Apologies mean nothing without consistent behavior. and her behavior had never changed. The divorce process moved slowly. Paperwork, meetings, waiting. She delayed things whenever she could, missed deadlines, claimed she wasn't ready, said we were moving too fast. I stayed firm. Every signature felt like cutting another emotional thread. Painful, necessary. I started therapy on my own, learned how much I had minimized myself, how often I accepted disrespect just to avoid conflict, how I confused endurance with love. My therapist told me something I'll never forget. You didn't lose your marriage. You outgrew the chaos. After the divorce was finalized, I expected to feel either completely free or completely destroyed. Instead, I felt balanced, like I had finally returned to myself after being lost for years. My days became simple. Wake up, work, gym, cook, read, sleep. No emotional roller coasters. No sudden accusations. No wondering who she was with. Friends noticed a change before I did. They said I looked lighter, calmer, like I wasn't carrying an invisible weight anymore. I started smiling more, without forcing it. I even laughed sometimes. Real laughter, the kind that comes from feeling safe. A few months later, she reached out again. One last time. A long message about regret and growth. About how therapy helped her understand her patterns. About how she finally knew what she lost. She said she missed our life, our routines, our memories. She asked if I ever thought about trying again. I read it carefully, slowly. I felt nostalgia, sadness, a little anger, but no desire. I replied politely. I thanked her for the honesty. I wished her well, and I told her I wasn't going back. Blocking her afterward felt like closing the final chapter of a book I had read too many times. Today, I'm rebuilding in ways I never imagined. I've traveled alone, learned new hobbies, reconnected with parts of myself I had neglected for years. I've gone on dates with women who communicate clearly, who respect boundaries, who don't play games. I'm not rushing into anything. I'm learning what healthy love actually looks like. Not intensity, not obsession, not fear, just consistency, honesty, and kindness. That's enough now. If you're reading this and you're trapped in a relationship full of secrets, half-truths, and repeated betrayal, please understand this. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be honest. You cannot love someone into loyalty. You cannot sacrifice yourself into being valued. Leaving isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the bravest, healthiest thing you can do. I thought walking away would break me. Instead, it gave me my life back.